Hello, everyone, and welcome to an installation of the Beyond Wall Street podcast. I'm Nathan Bowers, and I'm pleasure to be here today with Paul Ngalame. Go
Yes,
ahead and introduce
sir.
yourself, Paul, real quick, and say hi and everything like that.
Pleasure to be here with you, Nate. We have been working at getting this together for a while, and finally we are here, and which is also sort of part of our work, right? We gradually get to where we want to get to with effort and persistence. So, very happy, very privileged, and humbled to be here. I have been in the financial industry for about a decade. Started off in mortgages, and then about 7 years ago went into the insurance field. And absolutely, I'm profoundly grateful that I am in this space, learning what's happening. Because, as you very well know, Nate, the financial, the contractual, obligatory part of the financial sector is proving to be the most relevant and the most prescient in today's world, because it's delivering for the client what they want, which is protection of their money, growth of their money, tax free, and distribution. The most important part, distribution. When you get your money, where do you get the most insulation? It's in the contractual obligation part, which is insurance. And so I'm
Correct.
very happy to have learned that. And I'm learning every day from you, from our team, and happy to be here and talk a little bit about what we see and how we can avoid that.
Well, let me get to what we're talking about today, and that is time is a thief. How does it affect your future in retirement planning? And I'm just going to let you lead off on that topic here. Is what do we mean by time is a thief, Paul?
Well, just from the literal side of things, the fact that I have this gray hair on my face is ridiculous because I remember that I was 20 years old like 2 weeks ago. And now I got this gray hair. I still feel the same. I mean, there were a few cricks here and there, but the fact that we are in 2020, we're about to get into the middle of the year 2020. Prince had a song way back when. I think you were the 7 or 8 at the time Prince made this song, Nate. And it said,
Probably.
let's party like it's 1999. At the time, nobody really thought 1999 was going to happen, was going to come. And when it came, we all thought 2000, the year would, everything will crash.
Well, that's just what shows you is people's fear of the future. Y2K at the time, and every
Exactly.
5 years there's a new doomsday. So
Exactly. And then the 5 years come and pass. Most of us are not really cognizant of what's happening because it seems to pass so fast, so quickly. And that's time stealing your everything away. It happens in real life. It happens in how we see our kids, maybe for you, your nephews and nieces. It happens to our body, how we change from a regular beard to a gray beard. And most devastatingly, it happens to your money if you don't plan, if you don't pay attention. The good thing is you don't have to plan that. You don't have to be that like nerdish about your money. There are few things you could do, little tweaks here and there, and you take care of this issue so time doesn't become a thief in your life.
that's the thing is you don't have to know everything as long as you know somebody who does. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, and I think that is just part of the whole thing we're trying to do is drive this culture, is get more people involved with this. And time is a thief, and we're talking before we went live here is just bringing up is the culture now is everybody wants to, and Brandon is a big advocate of this, is present you versus future you. They're in a constant battle. Like I could speak as a 20-year-old guy. And even when I was in my early 20s, I was like, yeah, I know I need to invest, but, I want this cool car. I want this, I want a, big screen TV and all this cool stuff. And I just think back to, man, if I would have taken things seriously and, just put something aside, to start off earlier on, just how much of a difference that'll be. And I'm going to show everyone before we hop off this podcast episode here is how much that would have been different versus, an example off of me, what I'm doing now or what at my age starting out versus if I would have just done even less 5 years ago, how drastically different that portfolio would be. and it's pretty scary to see. So
It really is. It really is. I mean, and I'm, I'm speaking from experience. I was one who was very much into the Joneses
mhm.
and wanted to drive, the 5 Series Beamer. Really couldn't afford it, but had to drive it. I could make the payment, so did it.
Right,
And wanted to travel to all these places that I had no business going to, really. When I was growing up much younger, my dad would say to me all the time, "You're going to be older a lot longer than you're going to be younger."
right.
And so, because you're going to spend so much time in your older ages, plan for that. Make sure that that time is comfortable, is on your terms, and it's without stress. In the last episode you guys had with Brandon, he said you could be, if you have reserves, if you have 6 months reserves, you're wealthy for 6 months, right? Remember
Yeah,
that line?
yeah.
Exactly.
I heard him say that, and I was like, man, that's a great point.
It is. It is. And the idea is just to expand that wealth so that you have it for 35 years, 40 years. And you don't have to discover Amazon or Uber or Airbnb. You can just do little things,
Mhm.
$300-400 a month. You're doing it now anyway. You can do. I wrote up an IUL policy the other day from this girl. She's 26, coming out of school as a nurse, uh, anesthetist. I can't say that word. It's like
Oh, anesthesiologist,
yes, anesthesiologist, but it's the word is actually called an anesthetist.
anesthesia. Oh well, I mean, I'm not any better.
Yeah, she taught
I
me.
know what you talk about. That's good.
When we wrote the policy, she taught me that that's the word. And when I educated her briefly on what this does, on what a market protection insurance account does, an IUL or an annuity and so on,
Hmm.
she was like, you know what? I just signed my contract for $160,000 a year at 26. So this girl is, I mean, just
Yeah.
incredible. But she committed to put $1,000 a month into her IUL. And the numbers at 50, 60,
Oh yeah,
mind
she's
blowing.
gonna retire in her 50s, if not
Yes,
50 itself. And
correct.
that's just like you tell people there, like, oh yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there. It doesn't matter. I don't have to do that now. I was
Exactly.
like, no, you won't. That's just the
No, the
honest
same
truth.
happened to me. The same happened to me. At 30, I was like, bro, by 40, man, I'll be the king of Miami.
Yeah, it's
Nope,
like,
didn't
when
happen.
I'm 40 or 50, I'll start saving for retirement. Like,
Correct.
no, you won't. If
No,
you're not doing
because
it now, you're not gonna do it later.
time is going to steal it away from you. And by then, you'd have had so many other problems that you have to address.
Yeah.
And you'd always be planning to start next month or next 6 months. And then time will just steal all this stuff. And you end up at 62 with a broken down body, all sorts of
Yep.
ailments to address. And you have no money and no strength to even go after any money. And then now you start blaming the world. Oh, the
Well,
politicians. Oh, the this one and
yeah.
this.
When you start subjecting yourself to, why would you? And I was telling, my last client I met with a couple of days ago, I was like, why would you subject yourself to live in poverty when you're retiring? Why would you want to be the poorest of your whole duration of life when you're
Exactly.
stopped, when you're supposed to enjoy your life is at the end of it when
Exactly.
you've done working? Why would you want to subject yourself to this? Like, what do you mean? I was like, well, this is my big thing. As I talk to anybody, and my girlfriend too, she's a huge proponent of this now. And when we first started dating and we met, and I just did all her stuff for her, and then she started seeing the real bits of it. But without getting off on a tangent here, I was telling her is you're okay with, you get a job and you are just okay with, oh, it's my 401k, it's through work, it's going to work out, I'll be able to retire one day. No. And I started asking her, I was like, do you know how much you want to live off of when you retire? How much money is a comfort zone for you to um, invest for? So how much do you want to live off? Do you want 80K a year when you retire? 100? What do you want? It's like,
Right.
well, no one's really asked me that. I was like, well, what do you
Yes.
make now? And she's like, well, I, hold my own business and this, that, no personal info, obviously, but it's like, then how do you know you're getting there? So,
Right.
yeah. And they're just taking your money. Your employer is just grabbing this money out of your paycheck. You have no idea what accounts it's going into, how it's being invested, what you're actually going to have to live off of when you retire at 65, or if you can. And they tell us sometimes, what you're doing sounds too good to be true. It's like, no, I'm just doing my job. I'm doing what everybody should be doing when you're holding someone's money. And that's what I just thought it was so crazy. As a young guy, I worked for the railroad for a little bit and other jobs, had 401ks and through the
Mm,
military. I'm like, wow, this money's going somewhere, but I have no idea what
none.
it's doing. And so they're always kind of like, huh, well, how do I plan for like how, I have no idea how much money I'm going to have when I retire. And it's like, well, that's why,
Yeah,
we're trying to earn people's business, is because I'm actually going to tell you how to get to that. You want to make 80K a year. I mean, you may not like, based off where you're at, how much you'd have to put away to get to there, but it's going to be like, at least I'm telling you, at least
correct.
we're having that
And
conversation.
you're gonna get somewhere,
Yeah.
this same girl I was telling you I signed up, and she's a nurse anesthetist. Her mom, 52, I signed her up too because she called her mom and was like, Mom, you got to do this right now. Mom is 52. We started her off with 400 a month, and she's gonna get maybe 300,000 total,
Hmm.
at like 70 or so. But all through the conversation, the application process, she just kept saying this over and over. I wish I did this 5 years ago. I wish I
Yep.
did this 10 years ago. I wish, because she looked at the numbers and she was like, God, I got to put in 1,000 a month to get to halfway of where I thought I'll be.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, you're going to get something, and at that age, you can decide on whether you want to take the money, which you can get tax free, and invest somewhere or do something else. But let me tell you an incredible story that happened to me about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. So I had a neighbor of mine, Mr. Kirstein, loved this guy. He 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 would always laugh at me, right? Because at 29, right around your age now, Nate, I started
Hmm.
getting gray. And I would just like whine about it. Every time I look, I didn't even want to look at mirrors because I was like, who's that guy? But
Oh,
he would laugh at
another
me.
gray hair.
Another gray hair. I'm like, another one is here. Another one just came here. Oh my God. And Mr. Kirsten will laugh at me all the time and say, you'll be fine. Look at me. I'm all gray. Life is good. Anyway, I got to know him and I found out that he made 300,000 a year. And I used to look at him, with admiration, hoping that one day I'll work hard enough to get to that level. Um, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, I took some friends who came to visit from Atlanta. Went to the Gulf Stream at Hallandale. It's like this casino type place where you could
Hmm.
bet on horses and you could play games, and great like dining area. We walked into one of the establishments out there, and I saw this guy greeting people. So, I'm like, hey, Mr. Kirsten, how are you? You remember me? He's like, of course, you got even more gray. Great. We hugged, we spoke for a few minutes. And I asked him, is this just fun? Are you super bored now that you're retired and you're tired of counting all your millions in your mansion? And he's like, no, I had to get this job so it could supplement my income. And I was shocked. I was like, you're making 300 grand a year. What happened? He said, my 401k wiped me out, like wiped him out. He got a
Hmm.
quarter. He got 25 cents on every dollar in his 401k. He thought he had, all this money in there.
Right? Because he went through
Uncle Sam,
taxes, and he definitely went through '08 while he had it too.
exactly.
So,
Exactly. He got taxes, the value dropped because of all the market fluctuations, and he ended up having to get a job at 72 because he didn't know he knew that his 401k will take care of everything. But when it
mhm.
came time to get the money, he was left with his pants down. And these are what people need to know about.
Yeah, and that's just the conversation I just had, because what I do is I'll take an account, and my illustration's not going to crack $500,000 most of the time. And that was the case with her. And I took $1 million in an IRA and showed her the tracking out of how it would pay. You can only take out, 4% rule. I did five, give you a little bit more income,
Mhm.
$50,000 a year. And then you take your income tax out of that. And that's without any market hits.
Correct.
It's out of money at 77. Now,
Yeah.
we took the IUL plan, and it shows you the illustration. I just want you to keep in mind there was $1 million in this IRA, and then we compared it to what she would have at 65, starting right now.
Yeah.
to them. So it's like, just under 500, $500,000, maybe a little bit less. And it pays out twice as much
Yeah.
because it's tax free.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's when it starts really clicking in. It's like, why do I not know about this? It's like, well, I'm an insurance agent and I just found, I'm just starting to know about it. So unless you know someone who knows something about it, not a lot of
You
people
won't.
do. But then,
Yeah.
I bring up is, the history side of things. Like, Brandon talked about when we all first met in the training videos. JC Penney's paying all his employees wages in the Great Depression with cash value life insurance. Guy
Hmm.
founded McDonald's, cash value life insurance, used to buy all the
Hmm.
properties. Um, all
Walt
the top,
Disney.
yeah, Walt Disney.
Hmm.
I should I
Do you
should have led
know?
with that because I'm in Orlando,
I
but
know, right? I was just about to say.
and it's just like it's good enough for all the top individuals. And I tell her about it. This is the number one selling product on the market right now, or
You
it's
know,
top three. One of
Magic
those.
Johnson.
Hmm.
Magic Johnson. He found out he had HIV because he took a medical,
That's right.
a medical check
The
for an
medical
IUL.
exam.
He was going to pay 85,000 a month for an IUL policy, and
Yep.
that's how he came up HIV positive. Everybody who knows anything or has the resources does this. The cool
Yeah.
thing is it works for everyone in that food chain, all the way down to the public's attendant,
Yeah. That's what we were talking about in the last podcast too. It's like, doesn't matter if you make, 200,000 a year or, $40,000 a year. If you meet with someone like us and just have that conversation, like, where's all the money at? Where's it going? What's your future look like? How to plan for it? You may have to take an extra, if you just have $100 a month, depending on your age, or you find a way, like, we're going to tell you what you need to do. A no BS reviews. Like, if you want 40,000 a year till the day you die and retire, you have to put $249 a month into this policy to get it.
Correct.
And if you do it with a 401k, you're not even going to come close to that.
Nowhere
But
close.
it's, and you talk, and I think this is a good analogy to have for it. If you talk about time as a thief, why wouldn't you utilize the tool that makes the most advantages out of the time you do have? So
Exactly.
versus, less than 500K in an IUL versus over 1 million in a 401, the IUL pays out, double. It's just because it's meant to be used to pay retirement cash flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the 401k was just for Uncle Sam to confirm, or not just confirm, secure his tax dollars so they can address this $30 trillion debt and the $55 trillion unfunded liabilities.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is when you sit down with people who are giving you hell and high water about what you're doing, and telling them about, and I'm just like, listen, we just talk. What you think taxes are going to go up in the future, right? Oh yeah, my tax bracket's going to definitely go up.
100%. Everybody
They're
says
all
that.
like, oh, my taxes are all going up. It's like,
Mhm.
then what sense does it make that you're putting all your money into a fully taxable, tax deferred account, meaning tax later? It's like,
Yes.
instead of taxing the seed, you're taxing the whole
The
harvest later on,
harvest. Buy now,
and
pay
you're
later.
okay with it being higher
Yeah.
than what it is now. And they're just like, oh, it's
No,
like,
but the
huh?
thing is, Nathan, the thing is, people don't seem to have the urgency, right? I've had people who are like, I got to do this now, 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 now. But that's 1 out of 10. The
Yeah.
other nine are like, I mean, I have family members who are doing very well, medical doctors, accountants. They have a nice discretionary income. And I'm like, here, schedule a meeting. Let's talk. 2 weeks later, you never scheduled. What's going on? You good? Oh, I'll do it. I'm so sorry. I'll do it. Like, you're
Yeah.
my family, bro, and I'm working with you on this stuff. Let's get it done. And then 2 years from now, they'll come back and say, oh my God, I wish you pressed me harder, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I know. That's 2 years worth of compound interest you're forfeiting,
You're
which in
forfeiting.
the long run, like, we'll see when I do compare these two illustrations at the end of this, it's going to really show dividends because just look at the income difference at age
Yeah,
65 in comparison between 5 years. And it's not a lot of money invested a month. I think it's less than I think one's just over 200, the one's actually right at 200 or maybe a little bit less. I'll have to see when I open it up, but
yeah,
it's insane. It's just, how do you, it's, that's the whole goal of this podcast is like, is again, create the culture. Like, you need to think about this because every single person has the capability to be financially independent at some point.
absolutely.
You just don't know how, and you're not doing it. So
Yeah.
it takes a certain discipline. And that you brought up about the family members and stuff, and you said the 1 out of 10. But I want to bring up another aspect of it is people are really guarded about this because and that's why, I tell everybody when we meet to do a meeting over an illustration, is like, this is how it's been done for 40 years. So I'm on the outside for some, now for some reason, because everyone's like, oh, 401k, like everybody's got a 401k. Everybody's been doing it. It's like, and it all comes back to the too good to be true thing. As go, you think what I'm doing is too good to be true, a product designed for the consumer? You're telling me that your employer is going to give you free money to match towards your retirement and it's offered by the government and that's a benefit plan designed for you? When has the
That's
government ever
that's too
designed
good to be
something?
true.
Yeah, when has the government ever designed something for the benefit of the benefit is for the American citizen?
Yeah.
Come on. And then that's how you hear all these stories. It's like he got a quarter of his 401k, the gentleman you're talking about. And then
Hmm.
we look at the $1 million policy. Look how much is taken out in taxes. You're losing a third of it to taxes. And if your tax
Yeah,
bracket goes up, it's over half. And that's with market risk too. So
exactly.
it's just, we
No,
can go on for
the too
days
good to
about
be
it.
true, the too good to be true question. Now, what I say is there is an IRS provision, section 7702, which clearly specifies how cash lives in an insurance policy.
Mhm.
And the section 7702 also stipulates that 40% more can be in your cash value policy. This happened during COVID when the government was doing
Mhm.
everything to maximize, all the benefits for folks. What that tells me that they're allowing you to have 40% more into a cash value policy means taxes are going to go this way
Yep.
only. And the writing is on the wall. But too good to be true, look at the IRS 7702 policy. It says it right
Right.
there.
That provision wasn't made for people. It was made for the banks and made for because the banks hold a lot of their money, their
Correct.
tier one cash reserves
Yes.
and these
Yes.
IULs and all their buddies up there at the top that know
Hmm.
about these. They're making that so their people they know on the inside can use that provision to shelter more of their cash. It wasn't really made for the American citizen, the 9 to 5
Yes.
worker, unless someone like us and it's like, hey, we can
Exactly.
like we can differentiate between the two. But so far good. Little running a little bit towards the end of time here. I want to be able for you to freak speak freely. Words are hard on anything you got left before I cut to that illustration comparison.
No, no, no. Go to the illustration. Yeah, I mean, my approach now is not even academic on this. I've become almost evangelical with this stuff because I see what it's doing every day. I had an IUL policy on my son when he was 15. I was putting just $50 a month into the IUL policy.
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, I should have put 1,200 a month in it, plus maybe 3% max in a savings account. If we're doing it in a regular savings account, maybe my son would have had like 15, maybe 1,600 generously if I had
Right.
this in a savings. He now has something like $5,000 in his IUL account, like the cash value in the account in about 28 months. And so I'm living it every day. Of course, I got policies on my own. And when I meet people, I'm like, look, don't do it with me if you don't like this gray hair or my bald head, but do it. Like, just do it. Find a way to address this and get it done. Otherwise, you'll beat yourself. You hear my voice in your head 10 years from now going, the guy with a funny accent. I wish I listened to him. You know what I mean? So just do it
Right.
because that's how everybody else is getting paid. And you work hard enough. You deserve it.
All right. Oops. Trying to drag this up to where
Let's see. This is at age
can you see
59.
this now the full screen version? It's
Uh-huh.
just a little bit
Yeah, I can
behind
I can
on
see it clearly. It's pretty, but I
I'm
see
just
it
I'm just
starting at
because we're
age
running with
59.
Twitch right now. I want to make sure it transitions over on Twitch. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a little bit to the left on Twitch. So let me try and just drag this up. There we go. That should be more in the plane of view there.
Yeah.
All right. So we're seeing the full illustration here.
I am. Yes.
Okay, so this is starting off at age 28, and I
Okay,
selected, so it's about, you see the 38.59 annual premium outlay there. So it's just a little north of 300 a month. And so
right.
we're at age 65. We're taking a first withdrawal, $77,000 though, tax free a year. This account will do, and that's till the age I die. And we look at to the left here, 142,000 put in lifetime in this account, and at age 88, I will have taken out set $1.787 million from this account, and it keeps going. But I just wanted to show that for the sake of time. Now, if we
It's
stop this,
excellent. 77 tax free.
but what I want to show now is number two here. If I had started this account at age 23, I would have $113,000 for the
Whew,
same provision
just 5 years
till the day I
earlier.
died, just 5 years earlier. A difference of 40, what is that, $40,000 of
Correct.
extra
Yeah.
income.
Come
And
on.
that's just, we talk the whole episode, time is a thief, because it is. Because
It
if I was
is.
started 5 years earlier, I would make 40K a year more
Yep. That's how
retired.
much. So what's that? 200,000 lost because of time. Time stole that, from you
Oh,
because
just in that illustration, let me look at it again really quick. Um, 2 million, and then over here we're at 1.7. Yeah,
1.7.
yeah,
Yeah,
$200,000. You're
200 grand.
100% correct. Just for a
Just
5 years difference. Can you and
exactly. And what did you do with those 5 years? Or somebody who's listening and watching this, what you went to a few more, Tijuana taxi, happy hours. You bought some Yeezys. I mean,
some Yeezys. Yeah, and that's the thing though. The second illustration is with a it's not the same contribution amount as the first one. It's actually like $50 less, like 300, almost
wow.
300 even, or maybe
Look at that.
325. And that's just that, Dave Ramsey compounding interest, but it's putting it in the right spot and having that compounding interest. Because when we look at what we were talking about earlier, $1 million, that account had just about $1 million in it in the
Hmm.
versus the 401k with a million. I'm making 118,000 tax free starting earlier on versus someone
Incredible. That's a
versus
that's a beautiful, amazing retirement that not only allows you choices and the sort of
mhm.
lifestyle you want to have, but it gives you the power to play, to be passionate, to be with your family, to create experiences that are beyond just money. Family trips together. That's what most people want to do when they get into the golden age. It's not so much, oh, I want to buy the boat and the yacht. It's how much time do I spend with my grandkids?
Yeah, and,
And
well, and
you
think
know,
about this for a second. When I'm that age, I'm making $70,000 a year at the railroad, and then it's going to translate to $118,000 a year when I'm retired
crazy.
versus someone
No
making the
brainer.
same amount, and then I got to take a half pay cut to make 38,000 a year with $1 million in a 401k,
No brainer.
which accounts too good to be true.
My friend, I'm glad you know, or I'm glad you're making sure time doesn't steal anything from you. It's my job, and of course, with your help, to make sure that everybody around us makes sure they identify time as that thief and stop them.
Yep. And just that the key point here too is I always stress is you have not had that conversation, an honest conversation with anybody from the financial sector regarding your retirement. It will behoove you immensely to sit down, and we have always have the links in our YouTube bios to go schedule with us to have those conversations. How much do you want to make at retirement? How do I get there? And how
Mm,
much do I need to invest to get there versus blindly throwing cash from your paycheck into an account you have no idea about or where it's going?
yeah,
Because we talk a lot about money in these podcasts and in this industry, but time is the only resource that is non-renewable. So it's very inherently important on how you spend it.
amen to that. Absolutely. Best way to conclude it.
Yeah, right. So
Love it.
anyway, everybody, that was a episode here with Paul Ngalame from Beyond Wall Street podcast. I'd like to thank you again for sitting down and do this, and we'll have you jumping on for a few more. We're just keep building that culture up about how to go about this, and I like to bring as many different viewpoints in as possible. Because, start off with me and Brandon, but I hope to have a lot more to that, just because, just like any conversation you have with anybody on the street, you'll always hear just a new side of things that, man, oh, I didn't
Exactly.
think of it that way. It just
Yeah,
always that fresh perspective is what we're after. So
exactly.
I like
Exactly.
to thank you again, Paul, for hopping on. Thank everybody that watches this video. If you don't mind, just to help spread our channel and promote it, like, follow, subscribe, if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitch. I think it is a subscription on Twitch too. Just help us grow this channel so we can reach out to more people and get them this information that, everybody needs. So this has been the Time is a Thief episode with
Thank you
Paul
so much for
Ngalame.
having me.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure and a delight, and looking forward to our next chat. Thank you so much, Nathan.
Absolutely. Take care, Paul.
All right.